Hey everyone, today I'm doing the obligatory ranking of Metallica's studio albums. Just before we jump into it, I'm going to say I think a few of my choices are going to be a bit different than either what you would choose or other rankings that you've seen. So stick around and check it out. So coming in at number 11, I don't think this will be a shocker to anyone. This is Saint Anger from 2003. This album is actually the first album that came out after I had gotten into Metallica, because I didn't get into them until 1999 when I was 10 years old, and then there were no albums between 99 and 2003, obviously. So this was the first Metallica studio album that I was really looking forward to, because it was kind of the first one that was mine, the first one that was coming out after I became a fan. And it really did, let me down. I tried really hard to like this album just like straight from the jump, and I couldn't do it. I did like the singles, the title track, Frantic, Some Kind of Monster. Those songs are good. I also like Sweet Amber a little bit, and that's pretty much it. Those are the songs on here that I do enjoy, but those decent songs aren't enough to lift this album any higher on my list than Dead Last. I do think that this album had a whole lot of potential, and the production quality is more of what drags it down than anything else. Not that the production quality is bad in general. I think it was kind of raw on purpose, and in this case, I don't think it served the album or the music, but that's, just my opinion. Obviously, I'm not Bob Rock, so maybe this is exactly what Metallica was trying to do, and they did it, and it just didn't grab as many fans as they thought it would. To me, this album had a whole lot of potential. If they would have done all of the same exact songs, but changed the drum sound, tightened the guitar sound, and just basically used the Metallica sonic formula from the previous albums, meaning use the same kind of familiar guitar tones, the familiar drum sound and stuff like that. I think this album would have been a monster if they had done it that way. But again, last on my list for a reason. Coming in at number 10, we've got Load. This album does have a lot of really good songs on it. King Nothing, Hero of the Day, Until It Sleeps, Outlaw Torn, Thorn Within. All of those songs are good. It's just this era of Metallica for me isn't the most appealing. There's a lot of good songs on Load and Reload, but that sound that Metallica had on those albums just isn't my favorite Metallica. In at number 9, I've got Death Magnetic. This album was kind of a beacon of hope for me as a fan. There were some good, thrashy, heavy songs on this album that I really did enjoy. I liked. The album didn't stay with me. It didn't have the staying power that some of the other albums do. I almost never come back to this and listen to it. It's just, I just don't think of it very often. There's nothing that really grabbed me on this album. The opening tracks, That Was Just Your Life and The End of the Line, the way that those come together and open the album, those are great, but other than that, I just can't think of anything else that really sticks out for me on this album. In at number 8, we've got Hardwired to Self-Destruct. This album I really, really liked when it came out, and I do go back to a few songs on this album a lot that I really like. Those songs are Atlas Rise and Spit Out the Bone. Those songs are just super heavy, super fast. They're just kind of more classic feeling Metallica, which is great to hear in this newer age. It's kind of an updated classic sound for Metallica, at least in my opinion, and I really dig that. So a couple of the songs on this album I do go back to often. I wasn't the biggest fan of the first two singles they put out, Moth into Flame and the title track. The title track especially, I didn't really like that song. I still don't really like that song. I think it's I don't know, just a little bit repetitive, which is kind of an issue that I think Metallica has on the past couple albums, but that's just a, you know, a me thing. Maybe that's something you're into. Yeah, Hardwired to Self-Destruct, number 8 on my list. Coming in at number 7, I've got Reload. This album has a lot of really great songs, some live staples, of course, some really catchy, big hits, big sounding songs on here as well. Of course, this album has the big hits Fuel, The Memory Remains, and Unforgiven 2. Those are fan favorites and well-known songs. A couple of the other fan favorites on here are Fixer, which they don't play live that often, if at all. I think it's on the S&M 2 album, if I'm right. My personal favorite song on this album is Devil's Dance. I really like the bounciness. I do actually prefer the S&M version of that, but this is just a studio album ranking, so Devil's Dance is my favorite song on Reload. Coming in at number 6 on my list is the new album, 72 Seasons. I've had the chance now to listen to this album all the way through 3 times, and I really do feel that it sits right here in my ranking. I do really like this album. I think it's a huge progression from Hardwired. It does kind of have some of the old school feel. They do flex their thrash muscles here and there on the album, but overall this album is just crushing. Well, Metallica's version of crushing. It's a really great addition to their catalog, and for me it sits at number 6. I feel like this album does have some singles and some songs that will probably end up being favorites of mine, and songs that are just instantly memorable and will probably end up being among my favorites in their whole catalog. The singles, however, are a bit repetitive. In fact, a lot of the songs on this album are a bit repetitive, which is kind of annoying to me, but they're repetitive with really good riffs, so it's hard to complain too much about that. I did notice, like, Lux Eterna is super repetitive. Of course, the riff that they're repeating over and over again is really cool, but man, does that show up a lot. I think they picked the singles on this album really well. I can definitely see those singles becoming staples on their live sets. The video for Room of Mirrors just came out, and that's really cool, really good. One of my favorite songs on the album is the final song, Inamorata, and it's such a good song. It's Metallica doing what they want to do and doing it very well. Anyway, this is number 6, 72 Seasons.